Alexander Röder from Plastics Europe. He has been Director Climate and Production at Plastics Europe since September 2023. In this position, he supports the sector in its efforts to drive life cycle emissions to net zero, building on his vast experience in management of sustainability in general and climate change in particular.
Okay, so let's go into the details. Why Rome and why now? I think I don't have to explain it in a lot of detail. The starting point was a study that was commissioned by Plastics Europe a couple of years ago. It was called Reshaping Plastics, done by Systemic, which explored what can be done in the area of plastics production, use, recycling, to bring down overall CO2 emissions over the full life cycle and to understand what is the potential for circularity. And then there was a second study which went a little more into detail, which also said, okay, what is it that we can do as a sector? What is it that we need from other players, from the supply chain, from policymakers, in order to make that happen, in order to reach those impressive numbers of circularity that I'm going to show on one of the next slides, and to get to net zero greenhouse gas emissions by 2050. And what is so significant about this, I'm not going to go into too much detail because I've already used 2 minutes. So very important here is the first point. For the first time, all the members, all the sector is standing behind such a roadmap. This is very important. We're talking here about, is showing that the transformation of such a complex system as the plastic sector with everything that belongs to the value chain is possible. We show here a commitment from the sector to make this happen. And finally, we also show that all this is critical for safeguarding our competitiveness. Now, before I go to the numbers, please, this is not a forecast. So don't go betting on those numbers. This is a scenario that shows what is possible, what we can reach all together if the boundary conditions are right. So if in 2050 we are 1 percentage point above or below, please don't get back to me. That's part of this kind of roadmaps. So we have identified 3 main levers where we have to work on. The first one is circularity, the second one is net zero emissions, and the last one, sustainable use of plastics. And I have highlighted here, I hope you can read it, unlocking chemical recycling. And on the following slide, you're going to see, I've highlighted it here as well in with the yellow background. This is the contribution from chemical recycling. So what you see here from 2021 to 2050 is total European consumption of polymers by our converters, starting at around 56 million tons in 2021, going in the business as usual scenario to significantly more than 70 million tons by 2050. And what we see here is at the moment we have around 50 million tons of fossil-based plastics, and this is going to come down in our roadmap scenario to 22 million tons. What happens to the rest? So 12 million tons we hope to reduce by reuse to moderate the growth in plastics use. Then we have 3 levers that are related to sustainable feedstocks for plastic production, and they are all in the same range. See it here, 15, 12, 11 million tons, mechanically recycled plastics, chemically recycled plastics, and plastics made from biomass. And as mentioned, in 2050, these 3 batches all have more or less the same size. So chemical recycling is one of the key pillars that we as Plastics Europe see to reach our goal of becoming net zero and reaching a 65% circularity by 2050. And we have a small part here, CCU carbon capture and utilization. Don't want to go into details now in the interest of time. You see here, reaching net zero by 2050, that I hope you see here, this is the biggest driver, 89 million tons. That is reductions from the shift to circular feedstock. So that is 38% of the whole reduction that we need to achieve. There's another 17% just below, another 40 million tons. That is reductions from avoided incineration, which are partly also due to the uptake of chemical recycling. Don't want to go into the key takeaways here. You're going to have the slides afterwards, and as promised in the beginning, you're going to have the link at the end if you want to read the full document. I found it fascinating, but maybe that was because when I got it, I was very new on my position, actually very new in the sector. I used to work on cement and concrete, but that's a different story. Essential steps to success. Don't want to spend too much time on this because I know that I'm one of the last hurdles between you and your dinner. But what we have detailed in our roadmap, and again, I don't want to go into the details here. We have identified actions that we as industry commit to take. In the short term, immediate on the left side, immediate on the left side, short term 2026, 2027, and the middle and medium term up to 2030 on the right. But we know that we alone cannot do this. So that's why we have also identified asks to policymakers and asks to the value chain. And with that, I hope I have given you an idea of what this roadmap is about. If there are any questions, I will be happy to take them. Here is the promised link. It's a bit too long to now memorize it, I know, but as mentioned before, you're going to get the slides. So with that, thanks very much for your attention.